Welcome back to the Restaurant Growth Show podcast. Today we're joined by Erika Wasser, CEO and co-founder of Prospr, a platform designed to help restaurants manage their teams more efficiently. Erika specializes in reducing employee turnover, improving communication, and empowering staff through technology. We're excited to hear her insights on how restaurants can streamline their operations and build stronger teams. Erika, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So there's a little bit of chaos going on in the background there. We were chatting before we started recording here. You're going through a move. What's going on there? What's going through your mind right now?
That I need to throw half of the things I own away so that I never have to pack them again.
It's a good purge. It's a good purge, is it not? Moving, I mean, moving sucks. We all know that, but sometimes you
Yeah.
kind of get rid of a whole lot of junk and you kind of feel freed.
Yeah. I also think that I need to stop going to Barnes and Nobles because I apparently like my eyes are bigger than my stomach when I think that I can when I think I can consume book wise.
Yeah, I hear you there. That's for sure. So, typically I feel a little bit like I'm missing a big piece of the show and a big piece of me. My co-founder, Jose, he is off in Vegas gallivanting on vacation. I hope he's doing the company well and having a great time. But it's just going to be you and I. But I'm really, really excited to have you here and to tell us all about Prospr and how restaurateurs can, help their business grow, right? But before we jump in, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today with
Yeah.
Prospr?
So before Prospr, my co-founder and I actually were part of a service business. So we were in the beauty space. So not exactly F&B, but very similar challenges, customer facing, multi-unit, frontline workforce. We had scaled to 21 locations across 4 states, across the 100 employee mark. And through that growth process from, one location and 10 people to 21 locations and 100 some odd people, we saw the evolution of how hard it was to communicate to frontline teams from a top-down perspective. The tools that we were using at HQ were not the tools that the team could really use. If we were sending out schedules on Excel to people's emails, well, they don't have email on their phone and they certainly don't know how to open Excel and they're not paying for a Microsoft subscription. Right? Or if we had new menu items or new retail items or whatever it was that we had going on, we would then walk the stores and we'd go, why isn't the new shampoo out? Or why are guests not being told that we now offer a scalp massage? And the major answer that we got was, I don't know, nobody told me.
Yeah.
I
We've
didn't
all
get
heard that. We've all heard that from employees or, coworkers. Nobody told me. Yeah.
Nobody told me. I didn't know we were supposed to turn the lights on. Nobody told me.
I plead ignorance. Yes. Okay.
Right. And we were left in these really defenseless situations of not being able to manage because we had no, like, I can't tell you what you know, right? I can tell you what I believe that I've told you or
Mhm.
what I think you should know, but I didn't have any objective way to build a culture of accountability amongst the team. That was number one. Number two, once we really got large enough, right? And we kind of talk about Prospr similarly to, like, if you're having a dinner party for 10 of your friends, you can text them, it will be organized enough. If you're having a party for 50 people, you now need paperless post, right? So
Mhm.
once we scaled from a headcount perspective, everything broke, right? Because people weren't getting onboarded the same way. The effectiveness of the staff was fully dependent on who trained them. And not everybody trained the same way. We had some stores that, like, legitimately had a complete different understanding of what our pricing was than somebody else, right? And so it was all of these sort of giant holes that just exist from all of the moving parts of human heavy operations. So we said we need one place to communicate, one place to collaborate, one place for task management, scheduling, resources and learning and issues escalation. And it's got to be in one app because I have a hard enough time getting my staff to do one, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't give them 7. And frankly, like, when you're dealing with frontline labor, which most of hospitality, F&B, service industry is, in fairness, they're not getting paid enough to have 17 apps on their phone.
No kidding. That's true.
Right. And so we realized that, okay, we need to get our needs met as a business and we need to do it in a way that is going to be realistic and fair because our expectations can't be here if what we're willing to pay for them is here. And so how do we bridge that gap where everybody's getting their needs met in a cost-effective way? And that was technology.
Yeah, well said. Expectations have shifted immensely since the pandemic. That's, you know, obvious. And what hospitality workers are getting paid and what they were previously expected to do and the commitment level that they were expected to have on the clock or off the clock was a lot different than it is now. And nowadays, hospitality workers are like, wait a second, I want my time back. I want my
Yep.
life back a little bit. And so here we are in this really interesting time of, shifting expectations, and pay is a massive part of that. Agreed. But so is the partnership between employee and employer. So yeah, what an interesting time to build something like Prospr. Great name, by the way. I love Prospr. It's spelled Prospr.
Yes.
And yeah, love the name. It's fantastic. So let's dive in a little bit here. The elephant in the room in regards to F&B and hospitality as a whole is employee turnover. Right.
Yep.
This is just it's killing a lot of businesses right now, and it's a real challenge. So how can better workforce management help reduce turnover and improve retention?
So, obviously it's cliche to say people don't leave jobs they like, right? But the reality is that we have a belief at Prosper that people don't leave bad work situations, they leave bad relationships, right?
Mhm.
So you need to create a partnership, as you said, where the business needs are getting met. So even though like society has changed and hospitality workers want work-life balance, which they deserve, the needs of the business haven't changed, right? And there's a way to satisfy both, right? For example, there are features built into Prosper where team members can actually set their availability and status. And they can say, great, please pause all non-urgent notifications until my next shift. So that when they're working again, they open up their app, everything they need to know is there. Any urgent notifications like a closure or a shift opportunity or something like that will come through, but they're able to sort of say, great, like this is when I'm on the clock, this is when I'm off. Consolidating all of your work communication to a platform versus things like personal group chat, WhatsApp, things that are essentially part of the flow of everybody's day-to-day life, that's far less intrusive. So when I have my head on for work, I know where all my employees are. I know where all of my team members are. I know where my managers are. I can communicate there. Another huge piece is that people don't actually want to share their personal information with their peers, considering the turnover, right? I don't want to have 1,000 Sams in my phone.
That's absolutely true. And I'd imagine that there's a privacy component to that type of messaging that would be, I guess, signed off on once the employee installed the app. Is it a mobile app then? It must be.
Yep, mobile app and desktop.
Right.
The workplace can actually say we allow peer-to-peer number sharing, or you can say I want it hidden, and my teams can only communicate with me on Prosper.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So let's double click on Prosper. In particular, I kind of want you to tell me all about Sodexo Live, but let's start off at a sort of a high level. In what ways can Prosper streamline restaurant operations outside of the messaging, which is great, and how can it make it easier for both managers and frontline staff?
So for both of them, having everything in one place is huge. Scheduling obviously is just such a big one for hospitality and F&B. So there's multiple ways to schedule in Prosper. You can either assign shifts or you can actually create an open pool and say, these are the shifts we need covered. And then people are actually able to volunteer and say, I want to work these, I want to work those. And you can approve them. They can swap with one another. So scheduling flexibility is actually what frontline workers say they care about most,
Mhm.
more than pay. They actually say if they had more control of their schedule, that is a reason they would stay in a job.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense for the larger franchises with multiple locations, say, 5 or 10 locations within a major city, right? Really, really interesting. So, what are some of the key strategies restaurants can use to engage and empower their employees, especially in a high turnover environment?
Some of it are really easy automated wins, right? So
Mhm.
on Prospr, we celebrate birthdays, we celebrate work anniversaries. Before 3 days before your birthday, your entire team will actually get a notification saying, hey, it's Gordon's birthday. Let's sign his card. And you can do little emojis and send a little note. And so then when you open the app on your birthday, it's a confetti and a card from your peers, right? And so you feel seen. And it's these small things that I think culturally every organization says, oh, yes, we want to do that. But then there's 17 things on fire, and we forgot that it was Gordon's birthday, right? And so there's things that when you bring technology into the equation that you can actually automate that really do go such a long way. Definitely being one of them. Task management is another, right? So I think there is a lot of hot potato typically in human heavy organizations, like, oh, I think he was doing it. I think that guy's doing it. I don't think this is my responsibility. And so you can automate checklists in Prospr, assign them to specific working groups. People can see who's already done what, what's still outstanding. You can assign it to the entire front of house team. You can say, this is what we do on Wednesdays, but this is what we do on Friday nights, or this is how we set up an event, right? So sort of setting all of that up in a digitized HQ where there is no room for assumption is really what I believe the job of a leadership organization is, right? So you can only lead your employees to water. You can't make them drink, but like you have to make sure the pool's full.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm curious though, in a really fast-paced restaurant, front of house, back of house, people are running around with their heads cut off. Should they or would they be looking at their phone or checking in on a computer screen for tasks that either have been missed or like what does that look like in a really fast-paced environment?
So I'd say checked are pretty much done the way they are currently done on paper, which is in setup and before service,
Mm.
right? So I'm not insinuating that like during service, someone's sitting there with a checklist, right? But you can remove that from the paper finger pointing to something that does provide more accountability for people your way. Specifically in like a high, fast-paced restaurant where you're in service, probably like your managers and your front of house would be on Prospr, your servers likely are busy interacting with guests. So I wouldn't envision them on their phone doing that then. But what's great about that is that they then, when they have a minute, know where all the information is for when it's relevant to them. When they need it, they can go get it. They know where it lives.
Makes a lot of sense. You know, talking about birthdays and inclusion, obviously employee satisfaction, like you mentioned, is incredibly important in hospitality and reducing that turnover. How can restaurants use something like Prosper to create a more supportive and productive work environment?
When you remove the, I want to say opaqueness, but I don't think that's a word, but just when you make your day-to-day more transparent from top to bottom,
Mhm.
it does put an onus on everyone in the system, both frontline management and ownership, right? To show up a little bit differently. And when you, for example, like if you post a bulletin in Prosper, you actually get read receipts of everybody who saw it, what day, what time, right? For the frontline team member, that's really great because when they go into the app, like everything's there for them. So if they forget, it's one place, they can access it from home or in the car and on a bulletin board in the back room. From a management perspective, you're able to better identify who actually is a fit for your culture and who is a flight risk potentially before they leave.
Mm.
So if you see someone who is consistently not doing their checklist or not looking at bulletins or not interacting in messaging or tickets or resources or any of the other pieces of Prospr, you can actually go, huh, Gordon used to be really active. He's not anymore.
Mm.
Right?
Disengaged.
Like, let me check in with him and say, like, hey, is something going on? How can we better support you? So you're able, because you have better data, you're able to build better relationships. And conversely, you're better able to identify who should not be a part of your organization. Because one bad seed actually creates 10.
What if an employee is a little bit tech averse, right? What if I don't want to, jump on the app and read the bulletins or check the things off?
Don't
How do
work
you
here.
handle that?
Right? Like that's the thing. Like I get that you don't wanna. I get it. Sometimes I don't want to too.
Mhm.
But this is how we function, this is how we operate. And if you want to be a part of this organization and community, this is where information lives.
So it's almost a mandatory thing. So it's an organizational move towards electronic communication integrated into the teams.
Correct.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, are you familiar with a company called Seven Shifts? Yeah, are you guys similar to what they're doing? I think that I think Prosper reminds me more not just scheduling, but it is an employee engagement and communication tool. But maybe you can tell me how you're different from Seven Shifts.
So very similar in scheduling capabilities, sub-management, engagement. Seven Shifts, from my understanding, does some POS integration and pushes scheduling there and essentially then displays what you've built in your POS. From what I know of Seven Shifts, which we really like, we think it's great as well. They went a little more operationally heavy. I think they do certain integrations with machinery in the kitchen, like temperature checks and food safety. So I think they went a little bit more operationally deep. We went more people, culture, and communication,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so that's kind of the divide. Like the cores are similar from a scheduling, sub-management, employee engagement, where they went more heavy into like the food safety world. We went more into culture, much more robust chat, messaging, and engagement.
interesting. And they incorporate AI and machine learning into their algorithm in terms of, scheduling. Is Prosper incorporating AI?
So we have auto scheduling that will take into account people's preferences, people's availability, what teams they work, what their previous work schedules were, and things of that nature. I think calling it AI is probably generous to all of us.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm a little tired of just even mentioning AI because it's such a buzz term. But when it comes down to say machine learning and actually and building automations using the data that you've collected through your IP, I mean that's significant, But I agree. And honestly, it's so early in
Yeah.
this technology. Everybody can really slap AI onto their technology if they use GPT in some way, shape, or form. So.
Hey, I did
Yeah.
not say it.
That's fair.
So
You did not. You did not. You did not. You did clarify. So thank you for that. So, Erica, looking ahead, how do you see workforce management technology like Prosper evolving to better support the needs of restaurants and other deskless? That's a word I don't say too often. Deskless industries.
I think it's really about meeting the workforce where they are. And at this point, we do everything on our phones from getting our dogs groomed to ordering groceries. And so why are we not using this technology, this stupid thing that's our sixth finger, to be better at work, right? To better reach our teams, to better include them in our community and our culture and our organization so that they, right, do stay. I think like it's such a missed opportunity because everyone's like, well, they're not listening. I can't reach them. And we're not using the one thing we know that they use.
Yeah, we can't all have that inspirational leader or coach on all of our teams as much as we want or as much as we think that, our heart's in the right place as leaders and managers, you know, integrating the digital communication into the daily work life, I guess, is gonna foster engagement, in my opinion. And I think that this is a really useful tool to help those managers who are pulling their hair out, trying to fill shifts, trying to take care of their to-do list and engaging and having employees, mindful of and on the same page as the rest of the team. I think this is a really, really great technology. Erica, if you can, in one sentence, what's one piece of advice you would give to our restaurateur listeners?
Treat your team members as if they're going to stay a long time up front.
Very well said. Yes, absolutely. Every time we ask that question, nobody puts it into one sentence. So congratulations because you were able to do that. So that's great. Thank you for that.
I mean,
Normally,
in fairness,
no,
I do have AI running on the side. So,
that's fair. No, people.
like if you treated them like, because we treat the legacy employees differently than we treat the newcomers, because you assume the newcomers are like, well, we'll see if we see in 30 days. But if you really invested in everybody democratically, right? By giving them access to information and inclusion of community and all of these other pieces and shift flexibility that the guy who's been there for 10 years always gets.
It's like pulling back the curtain, right? Like those long-term employees, the 10-year guy has got knowledge and probably some priorities or
Yeah.
priority with management a little bit more. But like with technology, like this is kind of like pulls it back, like, well, what's he doing every day? Sort of thing. So yeah, interesting. Really, really cool technology. Yeah, we're excited to hear and watch prosper. And I'm sure you've heard that joke a million times. So I do
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah.
But that is all the time we have for this episode. Erika, now's your time to plug away. Where can people connect with you? What is your platform of choice?
So we're really looking forward to meeting with everybody. Our website is prospr.work, prospr.work. You can request a demo, you can start a trial, you can learn a lot more on our website and see testimonial videos from our customers. Of course, you can find us on Instagram as well, which is also at prosper.work. And hopefully there's a link here in the description.
We'll definitely, yeah, we'll definitely include all of your contact, the website, and all that good stuff in the description of this episode of the podcast. You bet. Absolutely.
Yeah, we would love to hear from all of your listeners.
That's great. Well, Erika, we can't wait to have you back on the show. We want to hear about all of the personal side of things that are going on with your life. Congratulations on those wonderful things and the move and all of that. Speaking of plugs, this podcast is sponsored by Dine Pricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dine Pricing uses artificial intelligence to improve restaurant profitability by dynamically updating menus across digital channels like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. That is all the time we have for this episode. Thanks again to Erika for joining us. Until next week, Jose normally chimes in here and he says goodbye, but he's not with us today. So I will say goodbye, Jose. Thank you so much, Erika. That was amazing. I'll let you get back to the move. I know you've got a lot of boxes to unpack.
Thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful day.